Hey, this is JC and welcome to Small Brick City. In my LEGO city, one of the highlights or my personal favorites is the section I call the Deep Sea. And this is an underwater scene which is pretty elaborate. It is a very detailed landscape and there's a storyline that connects all the builds and the landscape together. To watch a deep dive of my underwater deep sea MOC, check out the link in the description or the card in the top right of your screen. One of the main structures in my deep sea display is the underwater base or deep sea base. In my storyline, this underwater base was set up after investigators came down to check out two modern shipwrecks on the seabed. However, during the investigations, they noticed an older and even larger shipwreck over the cliff down in a lower part of the seabed. This prompted them to set up this underwater base so that all the deep sea exploration vehicles had a place to work out from. My underwater base is a major modification of the Deep Sea Operation Base set 60096. The original build is quite nice, but it is pretty small. But more importantly, it is a dollhouse design, so if you kept it open, it meant that it would be filled with water, which doesn't really make sense for an underwater base. I wanted an underwater base that was completely contained and was also big enough to accommodate all the different vehicles I had working in this deep sea project. I expanded it significantly and took parts from the deep sea exploration vessel set 60095 and also used the two ships in the set as my sunken vessels in the higher level. The result is a sizable underwater base complete with a control station, laboratory, medical facility, bathroom, and diving chamber for decompression. Let's go over some details of my build. The underwater base comprises of three main structures. The first is the main enclosed building, which has a front hoist system for a safety cage that can hold a single diver. There's a front dock which overhangs a cliff, and there's also a sliding hoist that can hoist up submersibles or cargo. Finally, there's a back dock to park other submersibles for maintenance. The front part of the enclosed building you see, those with the two half-glass bubbles, come from the original Deep Sea Exploration Base set. However, I only use that part as my diving chamber and everything behind it is my own build. The top bar structure that holds the hoist as well as the safety cage comes from the Exploration Vessel set. I removed it from the ship and I built it on top of this building. The safety cage is very simple in design but very effective. The front can hinge open so a minifig can go in and out. In my setup, this hoist and bar rig extends over the cliff so that the safety cage can be hoisted up and down without hitting the edge of the cliff. The build that comes with the original set is very nice. There are lots of details such as the orange oxygen tanks and the yellow truss, which really gives it a nice visual aesthetic. The entire underwater base is raised off the ground with these round column supports. I designed the front dock so that it overhangs the edge of the cliff. This is so that submersibles or cargo can be hoisted up into the docking area without knocking into the edge of the cliff. There's a small ladder so that minifigs that come out from the safety cage shown earlier can climb up to the dock. This dock is basically from the original set. There is a nice tiled area on the dock for cargo to be loaded and unloaded, as well as for submersibles to be maintained. The hoist and hook can be lowered and raised by turning a knob on the top. This is a nice play feature, and the original set comes with a small submersible that you can hoist up and down. Around the side of the base, we can see a submersible resting on the back dock. This is the Deep Sea Submarine set 60092. I'm just using it as an example to show you how it sits on the back dock of the set. I'll show you the submarine in greater detail in a while. This back dock is brick and plates built, and I designed it to match the colors of the underwater base. It is pretty simple, but serves its function for what it is and also fills up the area space for the underwater base. There's a short ladder here so that workers or operators can climb up to the front dock from the back. And here we have an all-round view of the back and the side of the underwater base, and all this was custom built. I chose to use these large trans blue windows so that the workers inside can get a clear view of the outside surroundings. And this is what you'd expect to see from an underwater base. At least this is the impression I get from movies. After all, how's the killer shark going to break into the underwater base if the walls weren't made of glass? Here's a top view of the base, specifically the support arm for this winch. And there's another play feature here, as the hook can be lowered and raised by turning a knob at the base at the supports. I added in some joysticks and a control panel just in case there's a need for a manual override to operate the winch. The rest of the roof of the main enclosed building has a variety of different equipment, from more oxygen tanks to a communication dish at the top. There's a nice embedded mesh feature at the top of the roof which represents ventilation. There are also floodlights on all sides of the roof. And here we get a top view of the back dock and the front dock. As per the original set, this hoist is actually on a sliding bar which can move forward and backwards. I designed the enclosed building to be modular in the sense that the roof can be removed. First, we have to remove these two curved slope pieces and the roof can be lifted off. The inside of this base is detailed, and what you're seeing here is the dry area. That means there's no water that gets in and there's no need for oxygen tanks because it's got its own internal oxygen circulation system. There's a whole bunch of different control panels, instruments, laboratory equipment, and communication devices, everything you expect to find in an underwater base. In this corner over here is a very small medical center, something that I felt was very essential for an underwater base. There's a small gurney and a small medical station with computer and medical supplies. And behind it we have the most important room in the underwater base, and that's of course the bathroom. It is very small but comes complete with toilet, shower and sink. You can't have an underwater base without a toilet, but don't ask me what happens when you flush. I mentioned that this part of the base is completely dry and no water gets in. However, there is a need for a diving chamber so that divers can get in from the outside and enter this dry area, and that is what lies behind this heavy sealed door. The roof of the diving chamber can't be removed, so let's have a look from the outside. The idea is that this diving chamber will fill with water so that the divers can access the diving chamber from the outside through these half bubble doors, as well as the heavy sealed door on the other side. Once the divers are inside and the doors are sealed, the water will drain out so that they can take off their diving gear and then enter the dry base. In the original design, if the base was closed up and you open one of these doors, it will completely flood the base and kill everyone. So I think this is much better. Here's a quick look at the Deep Sea Submarine Set 60092. I think this is a really nice submarine. It is pretty realistic, once again by movie standards, and it's got enough detail and articulation to have loads of fun with. My only complaint is that the minifig did not come with a deep diving suit. If you intend to build an underwater display, I highly recommend this build. To dock this submarine at my underwater base, all I need to do is raise its arms and it fits in perfectly. I hope you enjoyed this look at my custom underwater base. Sometimes you just have to modify sets to make it bigger or better or to fit into your LEGO city. Let me know if you liked my modifications and if you have any suggestions. If you do like my approach to creating LEGO and designing MOCs, please support my LEGO Ideas project. It is called Gastro Alley and it is a food street. It is a pretty unique set, highly detailed, and it will fit in between two standard modular buildings. It's perfect for any LEGO city, theme park, or as a standalone display. We need 10,000 votes to be even considered by LEGO to go into production, so every vote counts. If you liked what I did with this MOC, or if you like my content in general, please show some support by heading over to the LEGO Ideas project page and vote for it. The link is in the description, or click through from the card at the top right of the screen. Thank you in advance, and don't wait, please vote. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. And before you go, check out these two videos that you might have missed. Talk to you soon.